want to bring in Montana Congressman Ryan Zinke. He is a member of the House Appropriations Committee. Congressman, President Trump is predicting a shutdown due to the funding impasse in the Senate. Give us your sense of the state of play right now, because Hakeem Jeffries was asked about this over the weekend. He says, this is his quote, "I will not support a partisan Republican spending bill, and the one that was recently put before the House and the Senate, it continues to gut the health care of the American people. They are doubling down on Medicaid and health care and the premiums for ACA." Your reaction?
Well, I'm not surprised. Last time Schumer got a lot of flack for going along with the government not to shut it down. This time it's all political, and they're grasping at straws. This is the Democrat position. Another $1 trillion in spending and check President Trump's power. That's not going to happen. We're not going to undo the big, beautiful bill and have work requirements and have Medicaid not pay or pay for illegal immigrants. So on the Democrat side, another $1 trillion in spending. And look, this is ACA COVID initiatives. I mean, after COVID's over with, so those funds should go away. I think the president is concerned about a steep cliff and making sure people don't get an enormous rise in healthcare costs. So we're aware of that. But $1 trillion is a non-starter. And look, they're grasping at straws. The policies of the Trump administration are working. Inflation is down. The border is secure. So the policies are working. The Democrats really have no leadership and no message.
Now, but Congressman, I was looking at this, obviously, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they're demanding a meeting with President Trump. They're saying that they want to go to the White House and talk, and President Trump seems open to that. Do you think that that would maybe stall the impasse here and maybe avoid a shutdown if something can be reached between the two, or the three, excuse me?
Well, and President Trump has made it very clear he's open to conversation. He's not open to have his power checked or $1 trillion bill at the end of the day. And look, government shutdowns don't save money, and there are risks involved. First of all, the former commander in the SEALs, there's one thing I know is you don't mess with the sailors' pay. People should realize in a government shutdown, our military does not get a paycheck. And there's a lot of E4s, E5s out there that are living paycheck to paycheck. And I can tell you when they go home and say, we're not going to get a check this week. That's a big deal for a lot of families. Secondly, while the president has a lot of latitude in what he declares critical and essential personnel, let me give you a quick example. The FAA. Now, there's no doubt that the air traffic controllers are going to be critical and essential, but there's a lot of people behind there that support it, that make sure that the screens are on, maintenance. Some of those are contractors. So the longer a government shutdown is in play, you incur more risk in the system. It doesn't save any money. The troops don't get paid. It's not a good idea. The president's serious. He will, if necessary, he will go to a government shutdown. But yeah, I think the conversation's open. I would imagine the answer is somewhere in between. Certainly, we don't want a cliff where people get hit all of a sudden with an enormous bill for their health care, which is an endemic problem with Obamacare as it is. But look, there's ways. We still look for fraud, waste, and abuse in the system. There's a lot there to look for savings. So I would imagine we will go to a government shutdown. I think the government shutdown will be short.
Okay, you think it'll be short because the longest shutdown on record was 35 days, and that was from January 2018 to 2019. And to your point, 800,000 federal workers were furloughed. So when you say short, you don't mean 35 days.
No, I don't. Okay. Again, government shutdowns incur risk. And whoever gets saddled with the government shutdown politically is going to pay for it. And right now, the Democrats are pushing the government shutdown. President's open for conversation. But we're not going to spend another $1 trillion in undue legislation, nor check the president's power in an appropriation bill. It's inappropriate. It doesn't belong in an appropriations bill. It doesn't belong in a spending bill. The Democrats know it. But again, what's their message? Their message is whatever Trump is doing, we don't like. That's not a great message.
Yeah, but that hasn't worked for them for several months now and didn't work for them last year. Also, speaking of the military, President Trump is warning that the U.S. is going to defend Poland and the Baltics if Russia escalates aggression. And this is after some airspace incursions over our allies. NATO reporting 3 Russian jets violated Estonian airspace on Friday. For 12 minutes, Russia denies it, says they're following international rules, Congressman. But the president is set to address the United Nations General Assembly tomorrow, right here in New York City. He's going to be, according to the White House, promoting his vision of America's influence around the world, safety and security, in the middle of Russia's new advances against, in particular, Poland. Your thoughts and how critical do you think this speech will be for the world?
Well, escalation in Ukraine, Russia has always been a threat. There's no doubt in my mind we will defend NATO. The president will defend Poland. He will defend the Baltics. That is a fact. You look around the world, you have Venezuela, your Marine Amphibious Unit, a lot of firepower down south looking at Venezuela. We still have rumblings in Israel. China continues to press a lot out there of instability in the world. Trump has shown a pretty strong hand. I think the focus of having peace in Ukraine and Russia, particularly now you have violations of NATO airspace. I think that's got to be job number one. Escalation of war in Europe with Ukraine and Russia. I don't see where it serves any purpose other than destabilization.
Yeah, agreed. Well, it's all eyes are going to be on President Trump here in New York City tomorrow. Congressman Ryan Zinke, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. God bless.